Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Deanna and you're watching Orchie D. And I'm finally getting around to an update on my upstairs balcony Growspace. I've got a lot of my cattleyas, oncidiums and a few dendrobiums up here, and this is a new Growspace for me. I moved all my cattleyas up here early December, and then the oncidiums followed because I realised that they were all growing new pseudobulbs without spiking, and since I've moved them up here, the plants have been doing really well, and I think I counted yesterday something like, I don't know, 12 or 13 new spikes, which I'm pretty pleased about for, like, you know, it's been what, 2 months, 3 months, so yeah, that's pretty good. But the sun is moving again to the other side of the house, so I'm gonna have to move them all back as winter approaches. But yep, they've had a good run up here, and now I guess that I'm used to, I guess, where the sun moves with the seasons. I'll be able to follow a little bit of a pattern every year. But before we begin on the plants, I thought you guys might like a little update on young Frankie, who recently broke his arm. Yes, I'm calling it his arm, not his leg, but he had surgery nearly 2 weeks ago, and honestly, it's like nothing ever happened. It's like he didn't break anything. So that's his arm that he broke, and you see the little scar there? They did such a wonderful job. He is weight bearing on it now. Seriously, he's just, yeah, he acts like nothing ever happened, which is difficult because he's meant to be on strict, like, bed rest for 6 weeks, which, I don't know, is that even possible with a puppy? But, you know, as soon as he starts getting a little bit, I don't know, excited, we do pop him in his crate again. And yeah, but you know, it's like this cycle, because if he's confined for more than an hour or two, then he just has so much energy when we take him out of his crate. So yeah, and then he's bouncing up and down again. So, but yeah, doing really well. Heaps of people have asked about him, and he's a little trooper, and he's super sweet, and yeah, he handled the whole thing very well. So yeah, doing great. Alright, well, I think we'll start in this corner because it's a little bit of a tight spot, and I'll just get it out of the way. But you'll see at the corner here, I moved my beautiful Psychopsis up here. It didn't flower for me. It was kept down with the other oncidiums, and I didn't end up moving it when I moved the oncidiums up here because I heard that it needed, well, it didn't need very much light, but I don't think that's true because it grew 2 beautiful pseudobulbs and it didn't flower, and now it's pushing on with its new growth. So yeah, it's such a beautiful plant, but I heard Phalaenopsis light, but yeah, I think it needs more than that to flower. And I guess, you know, with the Phalaenopsis, you don't really need like the light to produce the flower spikes. It's really more about the temperature drop, whereas with the oncidium types, and well, not this, the Psychopsis has been reclassified, but I would think that the Psychopsis actually needs the light, or a certain level of light, to bloom. But yeah, the plant itself is doing really well. Root system's really good. Here's one of my cattleyas, which is the one that we repot and we divided together, and would you believe it has flowered from the back portion? So that back portion that was potted in there actually developed 3 spikes. So this one has actually bloomed, and you can see that the flower is not great. You can see the colour is, there's something wrong with the colour. It's blotchy, and I think, you know, looking at other YouTubers, I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say it's virused. Now, I don't know. I don't have experience with viruses or anything like that. I've clearly got these 3 spikes up here, but this is a pseudobulb that's grown from the front portion, and that front portion of the plant has just produced the 1 new growth, but it's a very good sized new growth, and it's got these 3 buds that have come out of there. So we'll see what these flowers look like. You know, they're all in the same pot, and I really just think that this is obviously a weaker growth. So you can see the size of it. It's not fantastic. The back bulbs, you have to understand, don't have a great root system. Like it barely had any roots, and it's relying on the roots that the new growths basically develop. And so I'm super surprised that it even bothered to flower at all. But you can see that there's another growth that started developing and it's stalled. And there is another growth at the back, which you can see there, which is very small as well. But you know, those three growths are going to establish their roots, and I'm quite hopeful for the next round of growths that they'll pick up, because the whole plant itself is doing really well, and obviously this front portion is doing great. And it's got lots of new roots that are digging down into the media there. So yeah, this is really interesting actually, because you can see how dark the buds are. But if I can find a picture, I actually got this plant in bloom last year, and it was a yellow flower, like very beautiful yellow, but it opens up this orangey colour, and it is called the Copper Queen, so now it'll make sense to me. But it must open this coppery colour and then fade out to a yellow as the blooms age. But these spots are just beautiful. It is a really pretty bloom, but you can see that this flower's got its issues, so I'm happy to leave it. You know, I actually think it's probably more of a stress response than anything, but yeah, we'll see. The other plants up here are doing actually really well. So we've got a couple of seedling cattleyas. We've got a random Doritas here, which is just loving life. It just keeps chucking out these cakeys, but you can see that the most recent leaves are really good sized leaves, so I think it's happy. The root system looks amazing down there. This is a Cattleya Ida Elizabeth Enchanting, and you'll have to believe me, but there is some buds starting in that sheath, so that's something to look forward to. My Dendrobium spectabilis has finished a growth this season and is starting on a new one. So this one's never bloomed for me, so if you guys know any tips and tricks on blooming it, or if it's got a season that it blooms, I'd love to know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It grows really well though. My Laelia purpurata, it's doing okay, and it's gonna live, unlike my other purpurata, which I thought was turning a corner, but then it just started going downhill again, so I've chucked it. It's gone. So, but this one has established a really good root system, and it's pushing on with another growth there. So yeah, I'm very, very hopeful for this purpurata. The roots are establishing really well into that medium. And with that, I've got a few sheaths around and new growths, so they're all doing pretty well. This guy's got a new growth. It did develop a sheath, but I don't think it's going to bloom. It got a little bit, well, it didn't get burnt. I actually think it started developing a bit of a bacterial infection, and I put some dragon's blood on there. But yeah, I think it stressed it too much. I don't think it's going to bloom because it is pushing out a new growth there now. There's another sheath there. And my Awanagara apple blossom, this is its newest growth. Keep in mind, this plant had 0 roots. It came to me bare root with a completely rotten root system, which I had to chop off completely, but these are all the roots that are coming out of from its new growth, and I'll show you. They are establishing really nicely into the medium there. And this new growth is developing into a good size. You can see that, and there's a sheath. So with any luck, I will get some blooms. Wouldn't that be nice? So we'll move over here now. Frankie's having a little rest. He's too cute, honestly, he's the sweetest little puppy. Anyway, onto the plants, but they're all just happily growing. They're actually doing really well. The root systems are doing great. This is RLC Toshi Aoki, and I'll be honest, when did I repot this? June last year, and it finished off a growth and it's done absolutely nothing since then. No new growths, nothing. Beautiful root system. It's just, yeah, being really lazy. So if it would just start with a new growth, I'd be very, very happy. Instead it's just wasting space. But the rest of these guys are doing really well. They're all finishing off growths, or this one's a seedling called a bit candy, starting a new growth there. Nice roots. Lots of growths finishing up there. New growth at the back for there. This one as well, you'll have to believe me, but it's got some buds in there and it's developing this growth with a sheath in there. So we've seen these flowers before, and I'll put a picture up, but this is Chung Fong Smile Cluster with really, really beautiful yellow flowers. This is my Topaz Angel Broadband, which usually just brings out one flower without a sheath, and beautiful, beautiful fragrance on this one. So it's finishing off this growth. I think there's another growth back here somewhere. There it is. This is Cattleya Lululand, just still a seedling. These little seedlings are doing well. This is BLC Little Mermaid. I was really lucky. In the last 6 months I was able to get my hands on 3 Cattleyas which were on my wish list. So the Awanagara Apple Blossom there was one of them, but this one was another. This is BLC Little Mermaid, and the other is actually this Cattleya Walkeriana. And yeah, all of them are doing really well. So you can see this little one was repot just a month ago, and the roots are establishing really nicely. You can see them all the way down the bottom of the pot there, and these growths are growing very vigorously. So I'm really happy. I think Little Mermaid will do very well. Cattleya Walkeriana, variation Cerulean. Also really pleased with the progress of this little seedling. I think I repot this one in December, perhaps. But yeah, it's pumping out a few new growths as well. So I'm really pleased with how that's going. And I've got here LC Tri-Star Bouquet. This is one that grew a fantastic new growth downstairs and didn't flower for me, but it's grown this new bulb here, and you can see little bud developing there. So yay! A nice root system on this one. And I've got a few species Cattleyas here. So this is Cattleya Amethystoglossa, and you can see it's grown this bulb, which isn't nearly as big as the others, but this is its first growth in my care, and it obviously had to establish into this pot, and it has done so really nicely. So it's, I think for me anyway, it's very common after I repot orchids for them to grow a sort of setback, I guess, growth, which may or may not flower, and that's exactly what this is. So it's a little bit setback, but I have great confidence that if a plant is able to establish its root system, be really sturdy in the pot, and just look generally quite healthy, then I'm quite happy. This is a nice plump pseudobulb, so I'm quite confident that this will push on, and the next growth will be a good size and hopefully flower. So the same with this Laelia perennii, another species, but it came to me quite a few months ago with these two growths just starting. So it's grown these two. There's no sheaths. I actually have no idea whether this one is meant to sheath or not. I don't know when it usually blooms. It also brought out this new growth, which you can see is small. It's small, and I don't think it's going to get bigger, but the new root system looks incredible, and so I'm quite confident again with this one that it will do just fine. And we'll wait for the next round of growths, and hopefully we'll get some flowers off them. Down the bottom here we've got Cattleya intermedia. It's got a sheath there, so hopefully a bloom from there. And these two are also just getting established in their pots. So this is one that I repot very recently, on the 18th of February, and it's doing really well. So these two growths are pushing on really nicely, and the roots are growing nicely in there. And this one here is RLC Burdekin Heights, and also repot fairly recently and establishing its root system really well there as well. And I think there's some nubbins popping out, so hopefully it'll push on soon. Now this is my little row of randoms. Quite a few dendrobiums, some epidendrums, a couple of random oncidiums, but they're doing really well. I cannot complain. This is Dendrobium samurai, which is an antelope type, which has finished off this growth. It's pushing on with a couple of new growths down here. And this one is blooming for me again. This is my Bollara Matthias. You can see a lovely little flower spike just developing there. A Phalaenopsis dendrobium with a beautiful spike there. My epidendrums did have some spider mite problems downstairs, but I've treated them pretty well, and I haven't seen any spider mites for months. These guys are growing really steadily, so I think they will be putting on a good show when they do bloom. Some more Phalaenopsis type dendrobiums here, which sorry, the lighting's just, obviously we're in the sun there. We've got a spike there. This is my Temesapa Princess, which I think is just starting to pop out a spike there, I think. Hopefully. I love these flowers on this guy. And yeah, the others are doing well. This is my white fairy. I just cut off the old flower spike actually, but it's got this huge new growth developing, which I'm fairly sure will flower. So over here we've got most of my oncidiums up here, and they're all in trays. This is a little tray. It's got a few other randoms as well, but see what's happening in there. But this is Howiara lava burst, and you can see it's got 3 spikes developing on 3 new growths, so that should be quite lovely. And I've got a couple of Neophoneicias down here. Neither of them have bloomed, but you can see that they've gotten a good amount of sun, probably at their upper limit. You can see that there's a little bit of, I guess, pigmentation that's developed around the edges of this plant. but it's growing really happily, steadily bringing out these new leaves, and I am hopeful. I think this one possibly, I think I saw maybe something there. Not sure if you guys can see in there, but I don't know, maybe that's a little something poking out, but who knows, we'll find out. Must be patient in the orchid hobby. This is another little Howiara, I think. What is it? Howiara Chancey Lovely. Finishing off some pseudobulbs there. Not sure, I think this is actually growing on. Little nubbin starting up there, but we'll see. And yeah, the rest of these guys are just chugging along, doing okay. I've got a BC Maikai here, which when I got it, fell into about 4 pieces. It was in the most disgusting media, but let me tell you, it is the most vigorous plant I have ever owned. It has grown out just uncountable, numerous new growths. This growth here was a single bulb. That's all I had to work with, a single bulb, and it's grown on. So yeah, very vigorous. If you're looking for a vigorous cattleya, I can recommend the BC Maikai. Not too much to report in this back tray here, no spikes that I've noticed or anything, but all the plants are growing really nicely. This is my Oncidium Twinkle, which is just starting to form its new bulbs. It has doubled in size basically. It's got about 8 new growths. Yeah, so I'm quite hopeful for a really lovely display on this one. And I've got another Twinkle here, which is new. So I haven't seen the blooms on this one, but it's a little bit dehydrated, but it's got some growths developing there, so fingers crossed. My Nellie Isla is growing just wonderfully. Look at that root system, it's just absolutely incredible. It just drinks like a fish. These growths are doing well, and this is one plant that I am dying to see the blooms on. This tray over here are my larger Oncidiums, and I must say they're doing incredibly well. This here is my Charles M. Fitch, which is my pink spider, and you can see it's established really well, but it's got 4, I think, new growths. 1, 2, 3, 4 growths, and I have noticed a flower spike on one of them. The others don't quite have spikes yet, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll develop on the others as well. Now I have to show you guys my Shari baby, because if you watched my 2018 summary, I did ask you guys to all say a prayer for flower spikes on my Shari baby. So whatever you guys did, it worked, because I've got some beautiful spikes there. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4 spikes so far. So I am so excited to see these again. I love this plant so much. For those of you that don't know, the Shari baby flowers smell like chocolate, like exactly like chocolate. They smell amazing, and the blooms are pretty damn cute too. So yeah, but the other Oncidiums, they're not flowering yet, they're still growing their growths, but they're all doing fantastically up here. So yeah guys, thanks for watching this update. I'm a bit sad that I'll have to move these guys again soon, because they're just doing so well, but you know, I won't whinge too much because I know how lucky I am to have the climate I do, and to be able to grow my orchids outside. So yeah, if you enjoyed the update, please give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and happy growing until I see you next time. Bye!